Hello, everyone. Welcome to the start of the bull market. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I know we need to talk about a lot of things. A lot of things. Yesterday was a little bit different in terms of the FOMC. So let's just get into it. Let's just talk about it. I know this is a little bit later than normal, which is fine. I had a haircut, as you can probably see how terrible my hair can be sometimes. Yes, I'm not bald for anyone who remembers the old days. So, yeah, let's talk about the obvious in the room. Jerome Powell said some very interesting things yesterday. The interest rates were exactly as expected. The market liked it kind of a lot. I'm not going to say a lot, but they liked it, which is good considering where we are. So, yes, we do need to talk about a few things. I will go onto the screen in a second, but my live streams are going to change a little bit. I'm going to go 15 minutes later than normal, so it'll be 11:45 UK time. It kind of catches the midday sort of lunch break for anyone that's having their midday poos or eating their food, whatever it may be, right? So we will get into a lot of things. So, shall we get into it? Let's do it. Because, firstly, I'm back over 73,000 subscribers again. I've been massively falling downhill for a while, like the market, and now we're starting to go up again. There's a lot more scam comments than normal, which is very, very interesting. So, yeah, like always, though, in the chat, say where you're from, what you're doing, what you've had for your dinner, whatever. I don't care. But I'll interact with you in a second as we move through this. So, firstly, as you know, it's a bit of an iffy week. It's a week where it is very data led, very much reaction to said data could be key. And obviously, one bit of news that has come out, and I don't actually have it on the screen, is actually, I think it was Canada have kind of somewhat said they are contemplating or maybe doing quantitative easing. Brings us to us a bit there in terms of where we could be going next. So that could be very, very, very interesting. So, in terms of what happens, yes, we're expecting this to remain probably like this and through till probably May time potentially, depending on the forecast. Now, the forecast is obviously saying potentially to like this summertime where we might actually cut again. If the data is a bit weird, we might swap and change, and that tactic might change. But the labour market's strong. Certain things are happening in recession speak is actually okay. So everything is tickety boo. But as you can see here, Bitcoin extends advance after Fed meeting. He has said the Fed, the Fed chair said banks can serve crypto sector if risks managed. That's a fucking bold statement, right? I would not have put that on my bingo card. Let me know in the comments if you're watching the replay. Let me know what you think. Always good to see interaction there. But ultimately, in the live chat, what do you think? Because I wasn't expecting some of the stuff that has been mentioned, perfectly able to serve crypto customers as long as they understand they can manage the risk. A greater regulatory apparatus around crypto, very constructive. So everything is churning. And I know some of the OGs or older Bitcoin whales will be like, ooh, I don't like this, but it's certainly looking like an alternative to a lot of things now. And the fact that the SEC has removed certain rules around obviously companies and stuff holding cryptocurrency assets, well, guess what? That's interesting. Very, very interesting in terms of where we go next. So, the final bit to obviously mention is yes, it actually happened. He actually spoke about it. He actually talked about it. He said about it. It was all there. It isn't AI generated. So, just be mindful of that. Finally, the other bits we need to talk about is obviously we are starting to see a lot more of this that they're looking to serve a Bitcoin reserve as priority bill for 2025. This isn't just an isolated case. This is a couple of others that have done it as well in other states around America. So everything is starting to, as I say, tick quite nicely. So Texas has joined at least 5 other states. So it's not just an isolation thing. However, not just America right now. The head of the Czech central bank wants to buy billions of dollars of Bitcoin. It's just mad, isn't it? It's like all of a sudden, it just comes out of nowhere, doesn't it, in terms of why people are buying. Now, I know people in the comments will be like, well, my altcoins haven't pumped, and that's true. They haven't. But are we at that capitulation event where people are starting to notice things? And that's where it gets very, very interesting. Even on the trending post, you got, Bitcoin reserve near my head right here of, Illinois. Oh, it's mad. So stuff's happening. Obviously, you got to mention the fact that this could be potential rumors of maybe Microsoft buying Bitcoin, which we had a vote on that. What was it, 2 months ago? that might change their opinion now. Their opinion might be totally different now. So it'll be very, very interesting to see where we go next. Other things to mention, I know Ethereum lovers, we all want a rally from Ethereum. Even though I'm not an Ethereum holder, I want it to moon. World Liberty Financial, which is the people in Donald Trump and stuff like that, they bought more Ethereum. Nothing crazy. And I've not really been up to date on this, but as you can see here, it has to move at some point, right? Now, for obvious reasons, I've not looked fully at it, but the holds that are actually there it is. It's here. Good, thank you. The holds that are very much within this, investment fund is very Ethereum led. It's very DeFi led as well in terms of wrapped BTC, for example. But in terms of what they've got a decent chunk, and obviously Ethereum leads the way here, and obviously staking it and stuff like that. So be very, very interesting to see where they go from here. Obviously, they'll hold Chainlink. That's an interesting one. Obviously, Aave is another interesting one as well. Certainly, from an obvious standpoint, it's a very, very interesting one. So let's talk about the title of this video. Bull market starts now, right? I know you're probably thinking, I've been told that for a while. But the data on the screen is giving us a little bit of a tingly feeling in terms of we're going towards all-time high again. We were going for a little bit of a retest, which seemed kind of obvious. I'm going to do some TA in a minute. But this is a graph that is kind of the obvious at the minute. We are still following the 4-year cycle. We are in the mania stage. We might only have maybe 8 to 9 months of this, maybe less than that. We don't know. There will be all of a sudden a change step. It will just change, and all of a sudden, and I get questions all the time on my Patreon. On Wednesdays I do MMQs. It's basically like a little bit of a word play between PMQs if you're in the UK, where everyone asks me questions and I answer them, right? A lot of the questions I tend to get is all about cycles, and it's all about what happens next. And it's very, very interesting. At the minute, it feels like we're at that point where people don't believe the last cycle. And I went through the last cycle and went, look, last cycle, it was a little bit different, but people kind of gave up. January time, we started to rocket. We started to move. Right now, things are starting to change a little bit. There's a little bit of a change going on. When that liquidity comes and the volume changes, it's going to be very interesting. Now, I don't believe that quantitative tightening and quantitative easing is going to be the main catalyst for this. There was something before that. Let's be honest. There will be something before that. That will just help trigger it further. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And I will come to the chat in a minute and say hello to you all. But other things to make note of. The ETFs have been quiet the last few days due to FOMC. I'm going to say that probably today's interest on the ETFs are probably going to be much heavier than they have been over the last few days. But that's just the way it is. And when we talk about the bullish markets of Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, I want to show you something, right? Said it before in previous videos, when you look at the return of investments on the last couple of quarters on Bitcoin, if we replicate any of them, that is a very high looking Bitcoin. The final thing to mention on this page is obviously the Ethereum change. February and March and April, on average, tend to be pretty good. So does May. When you're looking at the averages here, pretty damn good, even in recent history. Apart from obviously April of 2024 and obviously the bear market, yeah, cool. But going into a bullish market, are we actually going to see Ethereum go up? Obviously, if you've got to look at the obvious here, if Bitcoin flies and does a 60% move, this is going to be green regardless. But it depends on that BTC pair, of course. So we need to be very, very mindful of that as well. So let me just jump in and have a little look at the chat and see who's here and what's happening. Make sure you leave a like and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, I think it's interesting to know where we are. Took it into a fried chicken roll. Oh, no, chicken fillet roll, sorry. Set up the bull run. I think there's a few setups for bull runs. The big problem we have is obviously liquidity. Where does it come from? When does it come? And there's a lot of things that are just ticking away nicely at the minute, especially when you look at the the reserves and bills and all kinds of stuff. It's pretty interesting to see where we go from here realistically. Good morning, Ash. Still stinking hot in Perth. So, isn't it like 35 to 40 degrees over there? Like really hot? Because that's too hot for me. Didn't the IMF say that central banks would hold digital assets in 2025? So it doesn't surprise me that the Fed is mentioned. Yeah. So that has happened, and the SEC has removed some sort of ruling around companies holding Bitcoin assets or cryptocurrency assets or digital assets, made it much more friendly, so to speak. So that's a big change. Pig monkey. Beans on toast is elite. Like beans on toast. If anyone's not from the UK and you want to try something, get some. Just do beans on toast. It's like it's unbelievable. It's so good. It's not good if you've got terrible bowels, but like if you want a bit of fiber boost, bloody brilliant. This all season is shambles. Just like yeah, I agree. Alt season has been horrendous. Alt seasons are very much cyclical. They are window based. They're horrendously terrible. But hey, it is what it is. I just need Bitcoin to get to 130 and sell everything and wait for the UK BTC ETF. I mean, the only ETF we've got for us is a couple of the blockchain ones. There's a couple out there, but they don't have Bitcoin, obviously. They obviously have MasterCard, they have MicroStrategy, they have the miners and stuff like that. But it's not enough. Not enough, is it? So, yeah. I think 130 is probably a little bit low, unless you're thinking £130,000 for obvious reasons. Weak in crypto, and I feel like it's horrible. What else have we got? 8 to 9 months would be fine with me. Time for a break. Yeah, I think there's a couple of scenarios. I've already just seen it here. Some people say April, May. Some people say June, July. I think June, July, anyways, is always a sticky month. It's always quiet. We've got to be mindful. So if I go back to the screen here, if we look at like averages, often you find that these sort of months are very interesting. So if I go on here, when we look at like where do we not want to be, the averages of say obviously May, June, July, August are always a bit, we always say selling may go away, and even September as well. So we do tend to have a big massive rally in the start of the year. We tend to have fly off a little bit, and then we have a good rally at the end of the year. That's traditionally where it is, but it just depends on how it lines up. The big problem we have is how high does Bitcoin go? Like if Bitcoin say goes to say, I don't know, 180, 125, no, 180, 200, 225, 250, I'd be twitchy. People will be twitchy. And then where do we go from here? Would that mean sell, keep a lot of tether, chill out, relax, and see what happens with altcoins? Because we need to have a rotation at some point. I think the worst scenario for everyone is this is the top, we go down forever. The second worst scenario is Bitcoin moons and nothing else moons with it. Maybe a couple of others, not many. But the best case scenario is obviously the same one we've always had, and we're kind of thinking it's not going to happen because it feels like a long time, and it is a long time versus the last cycle. Because I've already worked it out, we're at 1,000 days of pretty much downward momentum on Ethereum. Last cycle, it had about 600 days. There's a very, very big difference, right? That's a big problem. So stuff like that is huge. As I say, best case scenario, Bitcoin moons, it consolidates, altcoins fly for a bit, maybe for 6 to 8 to 12 weeks, maybe. And then as Bitcoin goes up again, maybe a bit higher, who knows, towards the end of the year, we don't know. It will be very interesting what happens. But Bitcoin needs to do two things. It needs to consolidate or a slow bleed. Unfortunately, it's not doing any of those right now. It's literally a bit chaotic, which is half of the problem. A very big problem because Bitcoin goes up 2%, it goes down 1%, and altcoins go down 4%. It's like, what the fuck? Why has that happened? Litecoin all the way. Or Litecoin is the way. Litecoin's an interesting one. What are your thoughts on SoFi? Don't know. Never looked at it. Beans on toast with, oh yes, don't talk about, no, I'm going to start getting hungry again. I've just had a steak pie, Terrible, terrible. Went and got my haircut, went into town, got a steak pie. Why not? Typical British lad. US will use BTC to offset the debt. I don't know if they're going to do that. I think it's going to be a long-term pipe dream, but it kind of doesn't make any sense in terms of like holding a reserve asset to then sell it off to get rid of debt. They should utilize it in different ways. They probably are. They're probably already thinking about it, let's be honest with you. So we'll see where things go from here, certainly with that. Why is my bit rate falling again? I do apologize if it's gone a bit jerky. YouTube servers are absolutely terrible at the minute. I don't know why. It's back to normal now. For some reason, it just lags out and it's just like, it just dies for some bizarre reason. What else have we got in the chat? Hello, hello, hello. If you're in the UK and want to buy a BTC ETF, wouldn't you just want to buy the US or the K? No, you can't do it. You can't buy them. You can't buy the ETFs, unfortunately. But hey, you can do it. You can buy Bitcoin, obviously, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. The thing in the UK is, I don't know, people don't like to hear this, but the UK are not the biggest lover of crypto right now. There used to be. All of a sudden, once Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, it just kind of changed. But then you think to yourself, well, actually, Rishi's a very rich person in the fiat world, so it probably makes sense in a way. I'm just changing my bit rate a little bit, see if anything can change if it becomes a little bit lower. Will that make things a bit easier on the running? Let's see if that works. Maybe not. Maybe broken it. Stabilizing. Yeah, I've just reduced it a little bit, just see if it works. I think you know what's happening. I think YouTube's struggling at the minute. I think the servers are nowhere near as good as they used to be. Anyway, sorry, I'm waffling. What else have we got in the chat? Recessions. Hello. I think recession end. No, recessions are nowhere near. The labour market is incredibly strong, very, very strong. Job data is good. A lot of the data and the information around that is fantastic at the minute. So we'll see where things go, but no, there's nowhere near a recession at the minute. Bachelors or Heinz, I think. But then again, I like the Tesco's own beans if you're talking about beans. Sauces, I'm not that bothered. I'm not that picky. I'm not picky at all, which is a bit mad. Let me just delete some windows, see if this helps things, because things are really struggling today on YouTube for some reason, and I don't know why. Maybe there's too much traffic on YouTube this time of day. So yeah, I do apologise if the coverage is a bit shit. It's not your internet, it's just the servers, for some bizarre reason, not doing great. Other things to mention, I've talked about this a few times before, if you remember. We're talking, obviously, when does Ethereum do stuff? And this is why I say to people, like, the time frame between last cycle and this cycle, you can see it here, right? We were kind of like, well, we've been flatline for a long time, to be honest with you. You know, we kind of married up a little bit for a tiny bit here. And then we kind of went up and met it in kind of March 2024. And then that was it. It's so strange. It's very, very strange of how bad it's kind of went with that side of things. But it could be a lot worse with it, let's be honest with you. What else we got in the chat? Bought some Solana yesterday as I felt feeling exposed not to holding any. Too late to start buying. Only one. I think Solana would do okay. I've mentioned it in my last live stream actually. Bear with me. Go to the Bitcoin. I mentioned it in one of my videos. I can't remember which one. That Solana is still only 3.3% of the market, even though there's a lot of people in the world of Solana, which is fair enough, right? In terms of people, meme coins, whatever. That is still only 3.3% of the market. That could do very well. Very, very well. So yeah, there's always that side of it. I talk about it quite a lot in terms of like it's a really good place for people to start off. The wallet's fantastic. It's really easy to use. Obviously, the meme coin side of it's pretty good if anyone's interested. It feels like a really solid one, but I understand what you're saying. When you look at the chart and you go, well, am I late? Well, you might be late. But at the end of the day, you got to think, well, what if it goes higher? What if that dominance doubles and the price goes up a couple of $100? What if Ethereum doesn't move and all the liquidity goes from Ethereum into Solana? There's so many unanswered questions around it, which could be very, very, very interesting in terms of where we go next. As I say, though, the problem is, well, where do we go next? Well, we don't know with Solana. I think Solana is a solid hold. It's just, as I say, it's the liquidity. Where does it come from? Well, a lot of it is in Solana. It could go higher. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Solana is an interesting hold, in my opinion. Best way to do tax in the UK. When do we need to do it? I'm struggling with 100 injections. Go to Coinly. There's a link below if you're interested. I think there's a bit of discount there, to be honest with you. Easy to use. Put all your wallets in, get it to sort it out, and sift it through. And then from there on, go for it. My dogs have just went mental because something went through the door. Funny, honestly. Where are we at? What are we at? Ethereum, Litecoin is right now a good bet. Big caps. Yeah, Litecoin's an interesting one. Let's have a look at Litecoin because with Litecoin, yes, it's down here. And I think it's undervalued in the short term. But what you got to be careful with Litecoin is obviously the BTC pairs. I know people hate me talking about BTC pairs. I do apologize, but it's still like it's got a long way to go. There's genuinely returns here. Obviously, liquidity comes back. People will look at the obvious. They'll look at Litecoin. They'll look at Ethereum. They'll look at obviously Solana. They'll look at Dogecoin. They'll look at whatever, right? They'll probably look at some silly stuff as well, like Bitcoin Cash. But that's only if people come. And obviously, this is starting to ramp up a little bit. This could do okay, but you got to remember, in terms of the USD prices, people still think this is quite expensive or doing okay. It's not. This could really shoot back up to all-time highs if it does like a decent return. Obviously, if it goes up to where I was just before in terms of that chart of like a 200% move, you'd easily get up towards these levels quite nicely. And that is only if Bitcoin stays the same. So yeah, there's definitely options there, but I don't think it's an obvious option for a lot of people. What else have we got? Got loads in the chat today. Loads in the chat. I think my stream settled down now. Yeah, it's definitely settled down a bit. For some reason, I don't know why it's so daft at the minute. Oh no, it's just died again. Great. Oh man, honestly. Silly, silly things currently. Don't know why it's doing it. YouTube's broken. Sorry. If you're new or if you're just hanging out, leave a like. It's only 47 likes, which is actually quite higher than normal, which is quite good to see. Right, back to the chat. Sorry. I am absolutely distracted today. What is your opinion on the Ondo? I'm not sure. I looked at Ondo yesterday. Never done any research. Don't know much about it, to be honest with you. US is starting to come online. Yeah, probably. Everyone's waking up and saying hello. Yeah, my live stream slot is usually a bit better than this, to be fair. We need a sweet, juicy pump, like a 10x in a month. To be honest with you, like people say about like alt seasons, they don't happen very often, but often you see like something go bananas for ages. And it's like for 4 to 5 weeks, something just goes boom. That's what we need, just something like that. I just don't know if it's going to become an altcoin thing or not. We'll see. We'll see where things go from there. But it could be a lot worse, realistically. What else have we got? I'm loving the total flipping mood with yeah, it is honestly. It was death on Monday. Now it's like we're going to the moon. The thing, as much as I hate clickbait titles, I've got to kind of go with it as well, which is annoying. I hate it sometimes. Ashley Duke, hello. I reckon the bull run will happen if it happens at all. When everyone least expects it, and by time everyone takes off. Yeah, we always hear the old stories. I sold right before the pump. I did it in the previous cycle with a couple of things. It just happens. I think we are at that altcoin capitulation. If we are going to look at the obvious in the room, which is obviously the BTC pairs, dominance and stuff like that, it's high. It is quite high here. As I mentioned before, if XRP and stuff didn't pump, we'll be way up here. We are at high dominance. We're at like low levels of liquidity in terms of certain assets, and they will catch bids and they will fly at some point and they will catch people out. The problem is total 3/BTC. We're still waiting for like signs of is this going to reverse and we're going to continue going higher. Same with other stuff. Total 3/USD. This is minus the stable currencies. We're at a really interesting level. We could start moving up. If we do, it'd be brilliant. But people look at this and think it's like validation that we're in an absolute crazy alt season, but we're not. I mean, some people really have no idea how this works. So it's rather comical. But yeah, we need to be very mindful with altcoins, I think. Pick solid ones. Don't go for craziness. Don't try and be a hero because there's a good chance that they're not going to get any sort of pickup. What I mean by that is don't buy something silly and hope it's going to make you a millionaire. Chances are it probably won't, unfortunately. What else have we got? I was watching your channel when Bitcoin was getting banned in every country twice. Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons why I sold one of my bags in the last cycle was because India were going to ban cryptocurrency and they were going to like literally start, you know, stoning people for buying it. It was crazy. It's like, well, China would ban crypto every couple of weeks. God, it is crazy how things have changed. But yeah, we'll see where things go from here. Do you still rate the Tangent wallet? Yeah, Tangent wallet by far is, in my opinion, the best wallet. When we look at Ledger and all the other ones out there, I think Tangent's the easiest to use and it works the best. And also, it's like you get 3 wallets, so if something goes wrong with one of them, you use another one, which is pretty damn useful. What's with this rowing? Permission. Stop shilling shit, please. Thank you. Where's the link to CoinLeak? If you go on to, I've got like links in bottom of my YouTube, which is like marketmobster.com. It's like all my links. It's all in there. So if anyone's gonna get invited into a random Telegram group and you think it's me, it's not. All my official links are in there. So make sure you go onto that. It's just there for safety reasons, really. More to the point. What else have we got? Digibyte would show some signs of life. Nah. Monero chart. Nah, Monero and like nah. I think, personal opinion, I've said this for years, by the way. I'm not gonna say this for like just for clout, but if anyone's been following me for a while, I've always disliked privacy coins. I just don't see the point in them because people use them wrong, and it's very funny because a lot of people would buy this on a centralized exchange expecting it to be private, but it's not because you've literally just went through KYC, you've put your credit card and you've just bought something and you traded it for this. That isn't private. These, I think, have lost their kind of elements. When you think about how Bitcoin works now and how, it not really is mining opportunity for like the average person. Back in the day, you'd mine it. You wouldn't be putting any of your credit cards anywhere, and you'd use, certain things to keep it private, right? That's just the way it is. That doesn't happen now, does it? Let's be honest, it doesn't. And there's always different elements of privacy around Bitcoin now that's different too. So yeah, I personally, it might be a speculative bet, but I wouldn't be thinking a long-term investment in something like this unless like something really changes. But now, like obviously governments and stuff like that's kind of making it a lot more better or welcoming. Is there then a need for privacy coins? Well, probably not. But then you got to think the other side of the story is, well, taxation. You got to think, well, why would I want to sell my cryptocurrency because I want to pay more tax? But at the end of the day, if you're in the UK, you'll know this. You're in charge of your own destiny. However much you sell is how much you tax you'll pay. So if you don't sell, you don't have to worry about it, unless certain tax laws change for obvious reasons, right? So yeah, I think it's just an interesting one. I think obviously the narrative has changed around privacy coins, which is fair enough. It's happened, but certain situations I would have expected this to do better and it didn't. But it is unfortunately one of those things. So we'll see where things go from there with certain things around that, especially now. Now it's like obviously KYC central. It's a bit shitty, really. When are you buying alts? I'm still holding whatever alt I was in. I'm just chilling. My time with altcoins are few and far between nowadays. God, let me just hide someone. That was fun. Don't shill on the chat. It's rude. Come on now. We're all better than that. Sol's last cycle's Ethereum. I don't think, right? I think a lot of people would think this too. I think in the next cycle, we're going to look at certain things. And I think there's going to be very, very few and far between altcoins of like the next Ethereum or the next Solana or whatever. You got to remember users are key. Users are key. And they're not going to flock away from it. You can use YouTube demographics as a bullet. Yeah, I do. I mean, my Patreon, Discord, or my learning crypto kind of demographic as well, or like how many people sign up, is a really good indicator. I mentioned before, like, YouTube, make sure you subscribe, get the numbers rolling. I've started doing live streams. I want to try and capture as many people as possible, enjoy it, and have fun. But what I do reveal in my live streams is sometimes what happens in my YouTube. And already we're starting to see, obviously I've not been doing much before this and obviously started to do stuff. Views at the minute, in my opinion, are low. Normally on my videos, you'll see this. Obviously, I've not done a video for a while, but often you find with some of my videos, they actually get really big hits. And that's over the last 28 days, obviously. But when I talk about content, bear with me, I'll show you. Some of my content in terms of like, they actually do much better in terms of views, but obviously I'm now doing live streams, so it's a little bit different. But back in like early last year, some of my videos were getting like 10 to 15 to 20 to 50,000 views randomly, just pop off like a rocket. You'll see this here, bear with me. Last 35 days. There you go. That's over the last year. Look at this. Like, we had a massive random ass run where some of the days were ridiculously crazy. And that's over a course of a year. But when I look over the last 90 days or something, hardly anything. Like a couple of bits here. Like obviously you can see the average is pretty good. And then obviously I had a break, and now we're on live stream. So now we're down here. But remember, the market was much bullish, a lot more bullish over here. So again, I talk about it if I go lifetime. This is even funnier, by the way. You'll see this. This is like really interesting. Um, there you go. So bull market, bear market, and then we had that big old random run at the start of that year, and then off we go. So yeah, demographics around YouTube is super important, by the way. So yeah, as you can see, YouTube isn't the biggest maker of money over the course of the last few years, as you know. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's like people's emotions are key. And as I said before, the world around, like obviously my own Discord is great because my Discord is like a really good indicator for a lot of things. And even my X page, when I highlight things, it's a really good indicator because people like get very, very bearish and very, very pissed off in certain periods. And then it goes very wrong very quickly. In terms of the technicals, though, let's talk about the obvious in the room. We had a local top once it loads. God, everything's slow today. We had a bearish divergence here, and now we've got a hidden bull, right? This hidden bull's obviously played out. We're now here. We're moving up. Obviously, I just did this as an annotation on the start of the week. All-time high retest, potential range high now, and then we went for a retest of the range low potentially here when we're kind of in some sort of a range. It's kind of really good at the minute in terms of where we are, but one, we need to remain pretty stable, and two, we need to kind of trickle somewhere nicely, hopefully, fingers crossed, because every time we have these violent little pullbacks, it kind of harms altcoins every single time. So then we talk about, obviously, people get very bearish at support, and you start buying them, people get very bullish at resistance, and then we don't go anywhere further forward very quickly because ultimately people are too emotional, and that's where we get those little problems, unfortunately. And if you want that indicator at the top, it's on Learning Crypto. It's a really good one. Certainly worth it. It's very, very good in terms of momentum indications. Now then, let's see what else in the chat. I think my YouTube has finally settled down. Wow. Yeah, we've settled down, thankfully. Goodness me. Maybe everyone just turned on the juice. Woof, off we go. The reason why it's not pumping is because Chinese New Year. Yep, I agree. Chinese New Year and stuff like that is always a big factor in why sometimes January can be a bit iffy, unfortunately. Can you please share Cardano on the log scale? Looks like it. Log scales suck, man. Don't use log scale. Don't need to. I personally love all the altcoins for especially like you saying they can't come back. I think the problem you have is people think a lot of things will do all-time highs, but they don't. And people forget that the BTC pairs are very much down. A lot of people look at altcoins and look at USD, but realistically, the best thing to do is hold Bitcoin half the time. It really is. And that's me, a person who's like made a lot of money in altcoins over the course of the last 5 years. And as I said before, right, you look at Polkadot, great example. It's all the way down here. It's hit the bottom. It's bounced up a little bit. Yay, lovely. Now, people will look at a $55 dot thinking it's done amazing. But what if Bitcoin's like 300K at the time? Actually, it turns out you're down badly and BTC could have just held Bitcoin. So that's where the problem lies with a lot of people's perception around altcoins. And people go, but they'll make new all-time highs. Not all of them will. Some altcoins from 2021, for example, have like bleeded out 80% of their supply. It's like, well, that's like a massive, massive headwind. It's like, oh, how are you going to get it? Where's the liquidity going to come from? Even the likes of Sui, right, which is doing fantastic at the minute. When all their tokens are out in 2028, 2029, 2030, that sort of time, where's it going to go? Like, there's a lot more tokens to come out, and this is its first cycle. And often you find with first cycle coins, there's a lot of scarcity there. And when that scarcity then vanishes, these USD values that they will achieve at certain points in this cycle, wherever this tops out in the future, who knows? But the full dilution of this is going to be so much bigger than what it would have been in the prior cycle. It's just the way it is. NIA protocol is exactly the same. We're looking at $4.50 on NIA, which is, yeah, it's better than where it was back in the day of $1, but its all-time high was $20, right? It already nearly smashed its all-time high in market cap around here. So it's got a long way to go up here. That's the way it's mad. So yeah, it's it's a lot of work for a lot of altcoins to get beyond certain things. And people just look at the past, think, oh, we're going to go there. Well, it's dilution, isn't it? Dilution is absolutely huge. So yeah, you'll get short bouts, but nothing crazy. Do you think the US government could hold large amounts of Ripple, earn a yield, and use that? I don't know if they're going to do that. I think they're going to go with Bitcoin personally. Ripple's a bit different. Ripple could be great for like enhancing the financial ecosystem, but we'll see. We'll see where things go. Don't remember what I bought and sold. There's so many transactions for around 80 wallets. Yeah. Good luck. If you lost your wallet though, that's just, that's where it is. What do you think of all this 4chain Rune I was going to sell? I don't know. I don't know if it's well, they've came out and said that it's is it insolvent or is that just a nasty rumor? I don't know. But yeah, redo your research. The key thing would be redo your research. Like literally, if you're struggling about anything in the market, whether that is what you bought, why you bought it, just go back and just go, I want to redo my research. And then if you've still got that conviction, just stick with it. If not, change it or rebalance a little bit. Just do that. Boston Zilliqa 2.0 moving fully POS. Don't care. Zilliqa can fuck off, literally. Arseholes. Don't like them. They absolutely shafted me, wankers. I'm not going to go into story time today. How do you explain airdrops to the tax man or preset? They literally are a part of it. When you think about pre-sales or airdrops, staking rewards, trading profits, whatever it may be, it's already within your tax element, right? So when you do Coinly, for example, you put all your wallet in and it'll spit out a lot of numbers. So whatever you've made, whatever you've had as staking reward, as I say, airdrops, pre-sales are a bit different, but it will kind of be on there. The problem is where are your wallets, what you're doing with them, are they compatible? That's where it gets harder. So then you've got to kind of factor that in that part. So just be careful with that. The thing with taxation is obviously it's a self-assessment. Learning crypto has a tax course, by the way. I should really plug that. If you click on the link to learning crypto, there's a course on crypto tax. It will help you. The problem is it's like anything. Self-employed, it's all trust-based. So going to an accountant won't work. It won't work at all. You've got to do the hard yards, and you've got to give it to an accountant to then put it in the system, and then it's correct and double check it. So yeah, good luck finding wallets if you've not done it. Good luck finding all kinds of stuff because some people don't know where it is, and that's where the reality is. I remember when I first did mine, like properly, 2018. Some of the wallets that I had, were very hard to access because ultimately, exchanges shut down. And look at what happened with like Cryptopia, for example, in 2019. If you lost all your data there, you're shafted. It's like, well, what the hell do I do? Then you can't like offset taxes or whatever. It's an absolute nightmare. Hate it. Is it too late to buy XRP? Kind of. I wouldn't bother personally. I think you missed the pump. As much as yes, it could go to say $8, $10, $12, which is what I've said. There's probably better returns elsewhere if you're looking for similar sort of stuff. If we're going to go down the ISO route, there's probably some out down there that are probably going to do just as good as pumps. But I have talked about XRP very, very positively, thinking, you know what, it probably is going to go much higher than this because I think I mentioned it in one of my live streams, like this level here, this breakout zone, as you can see here. Well, yeah, there we go. We're broken out. We could do a nice little move here. But is it going to do that? Is it going to carry on? I think it'd be quite hard to do that personally, unless there's unbelievable news and unbelievable hype. Because at the end of the day, right, we've already gone from 24, was it? Well, no, there we go. So yeah, we're down at the lows of 30, and then we went up to like 50 cents for a long, long time, and now we're at $3. So it's kind of one of those where you're thinking, well, you should have bought here. Buying up here just seems a bit, counterintuitive if you're an investor. But buy high and hope it goes higher can work in certain situations, but not always. Do you think miners have a potential 238? I do, yeah. I've got rid of some of my miners recently. I got rid of the HPC ones. did some decent-ish profit on some of them. I do think, though, that some of the miners are undervalued, but that's my personal opinion. I think some of the big boy ones are pretty good, but a 2 or 3x is certainly possible on some of them, which is important if you're in like a stocks and shares ISA or stuff, but don't be too risky with it because if you lose your allocation, you lose your allocation. That's a problem. Can you show the Injective BTC chart as an example how you do analysis of the BTC pair? I want to learn. All it is, you've got to remember, right? So if anyone is new, feel free to subscribe because I'm going to give you some alpha. The BTC price in terms of Satoshis equals the USD price, right? So at the minute, this is not looking good, right? This is currently had a bit of a hype cycle and it's pulling back very aggressively. If you compare this to the USD chart, which is very, very simple, obviously people will look at that and go, yeah, it's not too bad actually. So as I say, if you put 1,882 sats into the BTC calculator, it will spit out $19.78. Where we are right now in terms of Injective is key levels of support potentially coming up here. So it'll be very, very interesting. Obviously, if this retraces up to these levels quite nicely, you're going to see some nice returns in the USD pair of Injective. Obviously, what people do is they think that their assets going to the moon, but ultimately, if you think about this topped out in Christmas pretty much, right? Christmas 2023, may I add. Obviously, it did well. Obviously, what was the price of Bitcoin back then? A lot lower. Imagine if that was like 100k Bitcoin and that price. It'll be fucking massively valued versus what it is today. So yeah, you got to be very, very mindful. And this is why I say to people, look at the BTC pair. What's it doing? How does it look? Certain things will look amazing. And obviously, a run like this, it's it's a good return. But you've also got to look, well, where can this go now? This is the high now. We're still unknown whether the cycle bottom is on this. But if we are going to go and retrace and go and try and capture this 5,000 Satoshi level, give or take, right? From that low, that's like, a potential nearly 190%. So if we're going to look at Injective, what is 190% from this point? Well, this is where it gets interesting. So if we're going to go 190% up to here, it's like an all-time high and some $50, $60, right? Now, obviously, if Bitcoin goes even higher, it's going to add more to this in terms of dollar value, which is where it gets interesting. So if Bitcoin remains the exact same price and it does that little move on that BTC pair, which is interesting, it could do it. That is kind of the baseline price of it. That's the thing with a lot of this. People just can't grasp the concept of like this is the actual price of Bitcoin. This is the actual price of the asset. It's price in Bitcoin, realistically, right? So yeah, stuff like that. You can see why, I look at things and go, bloody hell. Look at DOT, for example. Are we going to go back up here? Probably not. It's going to be quite hard. The reason why I say that is because 18% per year of inflation of new coins have been bled onto the market. It's going to be quite hard to achieve that. And obviously liquidity elsewhere, right? So this is why I always say to people, well, you're going to struggle getting to all-time highs. And this is why I say with the likes of, new assets, they've got scarcity. So they can do bigger runs. So yeah, things look interesting in that pair, and they always will remain like that. Sorry for the long-winded answer, so I hope that helps. Appreciate the £5. I'll put that towards my steak pie that I've just eaten. Brought when FTX and all that happened, I held. See, that was where I made a massive mistake. This cycle was FTX. I bought Bitcoin, and I also matched what Bitcoin I bought with altcoins, and I shouldn't have done that. What I should have done was I should have just bought Bitcoin and held Bitcoin and held it up until point of now where I can rotate into, say, altcoins. But as I said, and I've said this many times, I'm attached to my Bitcoin now because I've been in and around it for such a long time now. It's like when I look at the price of 100k Bitcoin, it's like, holy shit, like that's a lot. That's a lot of money. And that's the difference this cycle around. It's like you're playing with bigger money, and this is my third full cycle. It's like fuck. So like when I look at my life, I lived on Bitcoin in 2018. I had loads of Bitcoin. I should have just got a job. I built a company. I've obviously been through multiple cycles, made money, bought houses, got a family. My life's evolved around Bitcoin. It's important to me. But when I think back, wow, if I did that, I would have more. And that's the thing, like you always have hindsight, which is interesting, I know. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you can look at, but the FTX one was obviously an interesting one. I looked at some of them altcoin USD values thinking, fuck, they're low. That's going to bounce. Didn't at all. Some of them went worse. It's like, oh God, how is that even possible? But yeah, things are looking interesting. Thanks for answering my question. Last one have you looked at? I have not looked at that one. I don't even know what it is. XCN. To be honest with you, me and altcoins just, I'm so out of the loop now. I mean, when I go into my Discord, my own Discord, I look at the DGen section or I look at the investing chat and people are talking about all these things. I'm like, yeah, brilliant. But I'm looking at it like, that's new. What's that? Hyper is looking like a cured cancer. Hype is an interesting one. Hype. There's been rumors about hyper with Bitcoin runes and stuff like that. That could be huge for liquidity. The problem we have with it is, well, where does it go from here? Where does this go? It's new. It's brand new. It's like, hey. So yeah, We have to be very, very mindful of where things go next, unfortunately. T-Fuel was a monster last cycle. Yeah. T-Fuel was a monster. I remember having some randomly because I held Feta or whatever it's called for a little bit, and you got T-Fuel. I had a little bit, not crazy. It's like with V-Chain, I had V4. V4 just running away. Spiked up massively. I don't even know what XCN is. What is XCN? Let's have a little look. Bloody hell. Is there a reason why you're like trying to promote this? Because sometimes you look at that and you think, oh, hold on a minute. What's happened? Never even heard of it. What is it? Shall we have a little look? Yeah, this has gone mental on it. It's caught a bid anyways, 100%. Wow. You know when people ask for examples, well, what do you mean by catching a bid? This basically, where it's like 5 million volume, 3 million volume, then boom, fuck, where did you come from? Into the billions, actually. Wow. So yeah, you know when literally this is the perfect example of catching a bid. I still don't know what it is. What is it? The backbone of decentralized web protocols. Lovely. You know what's mad though, and I talk about it, and we laugh and joke, but there'll be a lot of altcoins, right, that came out at a bad time, and there's a load of them, right? This is one of my investment strategies of last cycle was find altcoins that came out at a really bad time that are really good, and then all of a sudden they'll just fly, and they do. And this is probably an example of that, where something as a catalyst has happened and it's got people interested in it, and it just takes off like a rocket. It happens quite a lot, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll see where things go. Magic Eden looking for a good reversal. Yeah, Magic Eden's an interesting one. Came out at a bad time. Airdrop, yeeted, la 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 la. Probably develop and build pretty well. Hyper bull market potentially could be a huge thing. Could you have a look at quantum blockchain? No, I'm not really. No. I think blockchain related index funds will do all right. It's just you got to have a bit of time. There's a lot of them. I'm not going to look fully yet, but ultimately you've just got to have a bit of patience with them. I'm in one. I'm in the which one am I in? I am in. Where are we? This one, the wisdom tree one, which has got quite a lot of things, but it's been very volatile lately. And obviously, I have sold some of my miners anyways. I've got something out of them, luckily, but we could make a much bigger leg as miners take off. As well, MicroStrategy. I'm not the biggest lover of MicroStrategy. I think like people are like gonna get burned on this. I'm hoping it does well just for that fund because it's a heavyweight. But again, there's so many funds out there for blockchain. If you can do it, just stick with the obvious with funds. But some blockchain innovation could well do very well in terms of the stock market. Some will fly, which is mad. Right, last question or so before I shoot. This is quite a long live stream and a bit later than normal. I will be back though at 11:45 tomorrow, a bit earlier because I have a haircut. So a little bit later than normal. I do reckon XRP has one more leg in it, but I do think one more leg, and yeah, I think you got to remember with something like XRP with a lot of liquidity as well, there'd be a lot of people aiming to get out. What surprised me was how many people didn't get out on this run. I thought a lot of people would have been like stuck from $1 days or $2 days and hoping to get out, and they didn't. They held and they got back into it. What about if it goes down again? Ooh, it could be pretty stinky. So got to remember the leverage. The leverage is absolutely huge here. People over leverage, people over risk, people think it's going to go to the moon, and then all of a sudden, once the dominoes fall, they'll panic and they'll sell, and it will create that big, massive sell off. And it might well recover. Look at what's happened with some of the mines, as I say, like 30% drops because of that DeepSeek. Ooh, spooked a lot of things. I got out in profit. I'm thinking, you know what, I'll go back to that when I want to, but realistically, like it's just probably a shakeout. Fulton Sui, it's decent. It's all right. Not the sort of thing I'd buy though, personally. Anyways, time to shoot. I appreciate everyone that turned out. If you've not yet done so, slap a subscribe button, hit the like button. Let's get as many people liking these live streams. Let's get having some fun on a daily kind of basis. My plan is to go live tomorrow as a normal time at 11:45. So yeah, enjoy. Appreciate everyone turning out.